What's up, YouTube? In this video, we're going to be covering what I truly believe is the most underrated investment account might be on the planet. And like you see in the title of this video, it's not the Roth IRA. Don't get me wrong, I think the Roth IRA is great. Plenty of benefits to it. I think most people probably should have one. But the account that we're going to be talking about today has some benefits over the Roth IRA. And it's one that surprisingly, a lot of people don't know about. Maybe even you don't know about in watching this video. So we're going to go into it in some detail and help you understand why it's important for you to understand that this account is an option. And we're going to go into tons of detail as to how it can help you reach your goals. So quick intro before we dive in. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jose Hernandez. I have an online financial education company that serves first generation wealth builders, people like you and me that are the first person in their family to start investing or think about starting to invest. And my mission is to help you reach your goal of financial freedom and or build generational wealth for your family. Started my career in the financial industry as a wealth management advisor, where I got my Series 7 and 66 licenses, working with wealthy individuals, got mentorship from some of the top financial advisors in the industry. And eventually I took that knowledge and moved on to start my own thing, which has helped thousands of first generation wealth builders like you across the world get on track with their goal of financial freedom. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the video. Here's what we're going to cover. We're going to, first of all, we're going to reveal what the account type is, which is probably why you're here for this video. But it's not enough to just tell you what it is. I want to go into more detail and help you understand like why it's underrated and also how it can help you reach your goals, whether it's that financial freedom, retirement by a certain age, generational wealth for your family, or other things that you can do with your finances, which we'll talk about in this video. So for starters, I like to keep things simple. And when we talk about investment accounts, if you're brand new to investing, it's really the analogy I use with a lot of clients and students. It's really like a bucket that you use to buy and hold your investments inside of. And there's different types of investment accounts out there. The Roth IRA being one of the most popular ones. If you consume a lot of financial content, you probably maybe know what a Roth IRA is by now. But what I've found that a lot of people don't realize is a Roth IRA is just one type of investment account. And in particular, it's a retirement account, meaning it's designed to be used at what's considered for most people retirement age, which is after age 59 and a half, which is when that 10% early withdrawal penalty drops off and you can tap into that money tax-free without the penalties and all the other things that people tell you about it. So again, the Roth IRA can be great, but as you can see here, hopefully on screen, there's different types of buckets that you can use to invest. The tax deferred being like the traditional 401ks, traditional IRAs, 403bs, and so on. You have your tax-free all the way to the right. So those are your Roth IRAs, Roth 401ks, Roth 403bs, and so on. But what I really want to focus on in this video is that middle bucket, which is the taxable bucket. And specifically, what we're talking about in today's video is what's called a taxable brokerage account. So the way I describe the taxable brokerage account is it's really just a standard investment account. It's not designed for a specific thing. It's not designed for like retirement. It's not designed for like education in the case of 529. It's really just a basic investment account that you can fund and use for whatever you want. And as we'll talk about more in today's video, one of the main benefits of the taxable account is that flexibility. You can put as much money as you want in it. There's no limits. There's no time that you have to wait in order to be able to access the money. There's no 10% withdrawal penalty, things like that. So for starters, what I want you to understand is the account that we're covering is the taxable brokerage account. And this is something that literally anyone can open. And there's times where it may make sense to use other accounts before this one. But if you're in a situation where you're doing well financially, you're maxing out your maybe your retirement accounts, your 401k, your Roth IRA, and you still want to continue to build wealth, I've found that a lot of people don't even know that this is an option, right? Some people think that once you max out your Roth IRA, you're done investing for the year. And that's not necessarily the case. This can actually serve as a great kind of like overflow bucket, if you will, where if you have very aggressive goals, very specific goals, very big goals financially for your future, this can be potentially a great option to start building wealth, building assets inside of, alongside what you're already building inside your Roth IRA, your 401k, and so on. So let's talk about how it can be beneficial. So now we know what the account is, again, the taxable brokerage account. Let's dive a little bit deeper and talk about like, why is it underrated? Why is it something that most people should know about? Well, let's talk about some of the high level benefits. These aren't all the benefits. If it was, this would be like an hour-long video. I'm trying to keep this as concise as possible, but here are the main benefits of a taxable brokerage account, specifically compared to things like a Roth IRA or 401k and so on. So one of the biggest things that stands out is there's no contribution limits. So with the Roth IRA, for example, in 2024, you can only put up to $7,000 into it or $8,000 if you're age 50 plus. And once you hit that limit, you're kind of done. Right. So with a taxable account, you can put 20,000, 30,000, 100,000, a million. There's no real cap on how much money you can use to fund and put into the account, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. So therein lies some of that flexibility that I was talking about. Secondly, there's no such thing as a 10% early withdrawal penalty. So like with some of the other buckets, if you will, that we looked at just a second ago, specifically like the retirement accounts, the tax deferred and the tax-free accounts, they do have a lot of tax benefits associated with them. But one of the biggest drawbacks, if you will, of those other buckets is you usually have to wait until age 59 and a half in order to be able to withdraw funds from those accounts without what's called a 10% early withdrawal penalty. Now, yes, there are advanced strategies you can use and tax planning that you can use to tap into that some of that money in your retirement accounts without the 10% penalty. But generally speaking, without any other kind of exceptions, if you try to pull money out of these accounts before age 59 and a half, a 10% penalty sometimes can apply on top of taxes. And that's just money that you're giving away to the government. And obviously we want to keep as much of our wealth as we can. That way we can actually use it for our goals. So no 10% early withdrawal penalty. You can pull the money out at any time for any reason. And tax loss harvesting. We're not going to go into a ton of detail into this topic in this video. I'll probably make a separate video on tax loss harvesting in the future, but it is a nice added bonus that you can get from investing in a taxable account because you can use losses to offset other gains. There is a small benefit to where you can use net losses as a write-off against your income when you're filing your taxes. But in any case, this is an account that you can use strategically to help reduce your tax bill, is the simplest way of putting it. And one of the biggest ones, of course, being if you have goals before age 59 and a half, maybe your goal of financial freedom or retirement, whatever you want to call it, is not at age 59 and a half or 65 or 62. Maybe you're looking at retiring by 50 or 45 or, I don't know what that looks like for you, but in any case, it's well before basically age 60. The taxable account can be a great vehicle, a great bucket, again, if you will, to be filling up to help you reach that goal. Because remember, with the retirement accounts, that age 59 and a half is kind of like the golden age. And that's really the age we want to keep in mind when we're funding those types of accounts. Whereas the taxable account, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in just one second, can really be used to kind of like bridge the gap between your early retirement age and when you can start tapping into your other investments, your other retirement assets at that age 59 and a half or later age. So as you can see, the main thing that stands out here is flexibility. There's no limit on how much money you can put into it. I could have listed this as well, but you really have unlimited flexibility in what you can invest in as well. In most taxable accounts, you can own stocks, bonds, index funds, ETFs, mutual funds, REITs, alternative investments, and so on and so forth. So a lot of flexibility in terms of the investments as well. Tax loss harvesting, which is a nice secondary benefit. And then the fact that you can just use this money for whatever you want. So for example, some of my clients and students, they have a semi-long-term goal of maybe purchasing a home or like buying an investment property, but it's like 5+ years out. So it's not super short term to where they just want to put it in a savings account and they want to potentially have their money grow more than what they can do in a savings account. Potentially you could use a taxable account for that sort of reason. Or maybe you're just trying to build general wealth that's not earmarked for retirement. So you can do really whatever you want with this type of account, which is one of the biggest benefits and one of the main reasons why I think it is so underrated. So let's go into a little bit more detail as to like what you can actually use this account for. So we've covered what the account is. We talked about some of the benefits. Now let's make this even a little bit more practical and help you understand like what can I use this type of investment account for if I do decide to open one up. So these are just a couple of examples. Like, really you can use it for whatever you want. But I talked about this just a second ago. You can use this type of account potentially as like a bridge, right? So again, 59 and a half is that age we have to keep in mind for retirement accounts or 401ks, Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, SEP IRAs, so on and so forth, because that's typically when that 10% early withdrawal penalty drops off. Whereas maybe you're planning on retiring 5 years before that or 10 years before that. So really you're going to need to build up some wealth that you can tap into and use while you can let that tax deferred retirement money continue to compound and grow. So then in the future, you can tap into that money without worrying about the taxes and penalties if you were to pull that money out before age 59 and a half. So that's one strategy that you can use a taxable account for. Generational wealth, right? So some of my clients and students, they like the idea of building wealth for their children, but sometimes they're not super confident or sure about the fact that the money has to be used for a certain thing. Like for example, in a 529, that money needs to be used for education. Otherwise, taxes and penalties can potentially apply. Yes, there's a rollover to the Roth IRA that dropped this year, but in any case, that money is still usually designed to be used for education. Or like with custodial accounts or UGMAs and UTMAs. Some parents don't like the fact that that money has to be transferred to their child once they become an adult, whether they want that money to be transferred or not. Whereas in a taxable account, you could potentially just keep the money in your name, you have control over it, and you can pass on that money at any time whenever you feel like it's appropriate. So that's one example of how you could use this type of account. Large purchases before age 59 and a half. So, it doesn't have to be retirement. Retirement isn't the only kind of goal that you can invest for. Maybe it's a vacation home, maybe it's an investment property, maybe it could be anything, right? But the key here is the goals before age 59 and a half, and we don't want to get just killed with penalties for pulling money out of our investment accounts if we're well before this age. So again, that can be a suitable bucket. And then this is a little bit more advanced. Not going to go into a lot of detail on this, but this is for those of you that maybe are higher net worth already and you have assets built up in a taxable brokerage account. There is something called like security-based lending. Basically, it's where you can use your assets as collateral to take a loan against them. That loan is not considered typically taxable income by the government, and you pay it back over time. One example of that from my career is I used to work a lot with a company called UPS. You might have heard of them, and their employees got paid a lot in UPS stock, and they would use that stock as collateral, take loans against it, use the UPS dividend to pay off the loan. So it's pretty interesting strategy, but it is a way that you can basically unlock more capital that's available to you in the future. So that's more of an advanced strategy. I'm not going to go into too much more detail on that in this video. And again, this is not a comprehensive list by any means. The key here is you can use it for whatever you want, basically. So in conclusion, the Roth IRA is great. This video is not to tell you should not be using a Roth IRA by any means. I don't want you to take it that way. I do think it's important for you to understand that there are other investment accounts that are available to you, specifically if you have goals that are just not only retirement or you needing the money at 59 and a half or later. This type of investment account can fit in nicely into what you're already currently doing. Specifically, if you're in a situation like a good amount of my clients and students are, where they're making good money, they're already maxing out their retirement accounts, and they don't just want to keep their extra cash or cash flow sitting in a bank account somewhere, and they want to continue to put that money to work. That could be a suitable use for a taxable brokerage account. So my goal here is to help you understand and expand your horizons as to what's available to you in your investing journey. And hopefully this video does a decent job of as being an intro to what taxable brokerage accounts are. So that's going to be it for this video. But before that, if you're watching this and you're like, man, I really need to get on my you-know-what when it comes to my finances and investments, either I need help getting started or I've been investing for 10, 15 years now, and I'm really serious about my goal of financial freedom, but I don't know if I'm doing enough. I need some guidance. I need some help. If that's you and you're watching this video, the next steps are simple. So in the description to this video, you're going to see a link that you can use to schedule a one-on-one conversation with myself. That's an opportunity for us to sit down privately, help me understand more about your situation, more about your goals, see how I can help, and we can take it from there. So again, the link to that one-on-one meeting is in the description to this video, so go ahead and check that out. But again, that's going to be all for me in this video. Hope this was helpful for you. If you did find this helpful, make sure you give the video a like, drop a comment down below to let me know. Subscribe to the channel so you can get updated when I release more videos just like this. But again, thanks so much for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.